There you go. Get a good shot of that. That's just good content right there. I should also say that this may be the worst content ever posted to YouTube. All right, welcome back to Movie Rewind. I'm your host, Michael Jennison. We have a fun podcast for you guys today. We are rewinding Sideways, live from Napa, post wine tasting with two of my good friends, former college roommates. On my right, a man who loves to play John Mayer on the acoustic guitar shirtless around the house, Michael E2.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
The man of 1,000 nicknames, my favorite one being Liz's better half of Wes Anderson pod fame, Ryan McDermott.
Great to be back.
And the theme of this pod will be, are we actually going to be able to get picked up from the mic? For people who are listening via podcast, all three of us are together, very close to each other, live in Napa with one microphone. So I'm not sure how it's going to sound acoustically, but we will try our best. All right, guys. So we are talking Sideways here. We just got done with wine tasting. We actually talked about Sideways quite a lot, and the people who were giving us wine today kept talking about Sideways, actually. So very, very topical. Should be a fun episode. Actually, guys, I should get to the wine first because I just kind of want to keep drinking because we've been drinking so far all day. You guys, you know what I got?
That looks so familiar.
Yeah, it might sound familiar because I want to get something special. So I actually got Pinot Noir from the Santa Barbara Valley. I actually got wine here from the Santa Ynez Valley, and it's Pinot Noir. So it's actually from the valley where they do Sideways from, which is known for their Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is not great in Napa, and so I wanted to get it from the valley that they actually got it.
Good choice.
Have you had this wine before? Yeah,
Very good.
this exact wine?
Yeah. I don't know.
So this will be fun. All right, Ryan, do us the honors. And while you do that, E2, explain your journey with Sideways.
So again, I don't know that I've seen it. I don't remember seeing it with you. Maybe I did.
You watch it in our
I
house
did.
together.
That was
Okay.
my first time
I don't
seeing
think
it.
That was
I-
my first time
I
seeing
don't
it
know
too.
that I
I don't
was there for that.
remember. I don't know if it was the biggest group.
I'm pretty sure I
Yeah.
wasn't there for that. So for me, I've only seen it one time previously. I think it was by myself before rewatching for this, and then for purposes of the pod, rewatched it. So I've only seen it 2 times.
And did you like it before? Like what were your thoughts before you rewinded?
About how I liked it the first time. I thought it was really good the first time. The second time I was trying to pick up on more things for like just being able to discuss it. But like the first time, I thought it was a really good like buddy movie.
In the last
Yes.
10 years, this is arguably the movie that I've seen the most. I've seen this movie probably 5 or 6 times. I watched it most recently in June before I did this rewind. This is the type of movie that like every time I watch it, I pick up on new details. To sound corny here, this movie ages like the finest of wines. It truly does, though. And I think Alexander Payne, who directed this movie, is one of my favorite directors. He's one of my favorite screenplay writers. And I think he is always very great at, he can almost lull you to sleep, especially with this movie, where it's like, I'm just enjoying these two buddies on a wine trip, where you're almost kind of losing how serious the background story is almost. Like it's a man who clearly probably shouldn't be getting married. It's another man who may kill himself. But yeah, at the same point in time, you're like, oh, they're having fun in wine country.
It's like a comedy movie.
It's a comedy. And then all of a sudden the third act happens. You're like, oh shit, like this is real. And it's just Alexander Payne just blending humor and real life together in such a fantastic way. This is easily one of the greatest screenplays of all time. And yeah, I adore this movie. Rewatching it, I even found more things this time. This is easily a top 20 movie all time for me, maybe top 10. I love this movie. I also think it's one of those movies that I've recommended to a bunch of people, and every person that's ever watched it from my recommendation has been like, I fucking love this movie. I think this movie plays for pretty much everybody.
What's funny is that I didn't like it the first time I saw it.
Really?
And it's more of a judgment on me as a person that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I
Bad
was,
guy.
yeah. But it was that time in college. I forget what year that was, but
Like junior,
I
senior.
had no idea about like the wine industry. I didn't know like inside of that. I thought like Paul Giamatti was insufferable. I'm like, why? Like, what is going on in this movie? Like, this is ridiculous. This is dumb. But I didn't really give it like didn't really give it a chance. I feel like when I saw it, but I've rewatched it twice since then, and yeah, I mean, boy, was I wrong. Just so much. It's a comedy movie, but there's so much emotion. There's so much packed into this movie, while at the same time just being such a joy to watch. And learn a little more about wine as you watch it. So it's a nice little added touch. But
Yeah, and there's a shit ton of background I can give on the wine industry and the impact of it, but let's just jump straight into it. I will slowly reveal a lot of the fun facts that I have about this movie as we go on. So let's start off. This movie, it opens up in San Diego, which is where Ryan and I call home. Ryan, I tried to find if that apartment existed.
it doesn't, right?
It's in Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. But then when they filmed the shots of him driving, like it shows it's the San Diego airport next to the fire.
Exactly.
It doesn't, like, why did they
I guess
shoot his apartment in Santa Barbara when they were already doing filming in San Diego?
I know. I live in a single bedroom apartment. I was like, maybe I can move here in this shitty complex. But no, it's in Santa Barbara. It's not a real San Diego apartment, which was disappointing to me. But I do love the intro. I think they do a very good job in the first 15 minutes of showing that Paul Giamatti's life is a broken mess. And yet, like, he's doing crossword puzzles. He comes off very pretentious.
As he's driving.
As he's driving, he's doing crossword puzzles. And I think, like, it very quickly, you realize that this man is, like, a very pretentious person who's also, like, doesn't have his life together whatsoever. Like, he can't even simply pick his friend up at noon to go wine tasting with. So I think they do a really good job. Anything else, like, in the early intro that pops up?
When they visit his mom,
yeah,
and he's like stealing money from her. It's like, I mean, you're 40. Like, this is where your life is at this point. Like, they do a good job of showing kind of where he's at in life, and it's not great.
But they really set the stage of, like, he's a deadbeat, he's a piece of shit. They do a really good job of also slowly revealing the Victoria character,
and sets the stage for Thomas Hayden Church's character. They talk about his acting career, and his mom is like, oh my gosh, I have this famous actor in my house. And he was like, oh, that was 11 years ago. So it does a kind of a good job of setting the scene of, like, he's kind of on the decline.
Yes. Yeah.
In his acting career.
Yes. Very quickly, very early, these first 20 minutes of this movie, they do a great job of Miles, played by Paul Giamatti, Jack, played by Thomas Hayden Church. They do a really good job of introducing both those characters, with Jack just being this, like, deadbeat, but, like, not failed actor, but actor who's clearly on the back half of his career. He's doing, like, voiceover work now. And Miles, who's an aspiring actor. There you go. Get a good shot of that. That's just good content right there. I should also say that this may be the worst content ever posted to you. But E2's mustache looks sick.
The lighting before was even worse.
The lighting before was flushing me out. I looked like I was 87 years old. E2 looked great, but E2 always looks great. Cheers.
Mike's drinking from a coffee cup.
Because we only have 2 wine glasses in this room. And I should also say that the common misconception here is that this does not take place in Napa. I think the vast majority of people think it takes place in Napa. I personally thought it took place in Napa until I lived in California. Until I was coming here.
Until you, like, live in California, you don't really have, like, or unless you're, like, really into wine and have visited these regions, you don't really have an understanding of the different regions and, like, the differences between them. So I think the first time I saw this, I'm like, oh, they're in wine country in California.
Yeah.
Like, they're in Napa. What else is there?
It's synonymous with, wine country in California is synonymous with Napa. That's actually Santa Barbara wine country. You've been there, right?
I have not. Right above it. Paso Robles is, like, 2 hours north. It's a different wine.
You went that far north?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, never mind. Brian's never been there.
I've not.
All right. We learn something new every day. All right, guys. And so let's get into, like, the meat and potatoes of things. Pick up when they go to the hitching post. And the hitching post is real.
It is.
I want to go.
I heard it was, like, impossible to get into after the movie came out.
I'm sure. They make their own Pinot there. For a 20-year anniversary, they made their own Pinot.
You and your Pinot.
I like my Pinot quite a bit. I just bought some Pinot. And Mia, I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head.
Maya? Virginia Madison.
100% Maya. And yeah, good job, dude. You're ready. This kid's locked in. Maya, she actually spent time with the staff of the hitching post. And then quickly, Els and Jack, they go to the hitching post. And you kind of quickly realize that Jack's the horniest human being on the planet.
Is this an appropriate time to talk about, like, one of the biggest questions I have about this movie is, how are they friends?
San Diego State.
Well, okay.
Which makes sense. If you know San Diego State well, it makes sense that both these guys went to San Diego State.
I understand they were freshmen roommates.
It's a dirtbag school.
Like, how do they stay in touch? What do they talk about in the car together? They have nothing in common.
I think that's a good point. I just think that, like, I don't know, people that you're good friends with, I feel like sometimes you like drift apart as far as your interests, but you still, like, when you're in the same room together, you're just kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
They're just kind of,
they definitely have that chemistry.
They have that chemistry together. And, like, I think they can be their true selves, which are, like, really shitty people.
Yeah. But to get back to your point, like, the horniest person alive.
The world's horniest person. So he's about to get married in a week. And quickly on, he's like, if I don't bust a nut this trip, essentially, if I don't have sex this week, if you ruin me having sex this week, I will be so upset at you.
He had a variety of ways to describe,
and I have
sexual acts.
I have my favorite quote of all time, but that's coming up later in the movie about having sex. But yes,
it's anytime a female walked into the same area as them, he was locked in. It was like, it's go time.
So it's crazy. So quickly on, you realize that Jack wants to just have sex right before his wedding, and Miles is this terribly broken character who recently got a divorce. I love how they slowly reveal the Victoria character and their relationship, about how Miles pretty much ruined his previous marriage with Victoria. I love that. We'll get to that in a second. Something I want to say here is there's an epic wine tasting scene where they are both wine tasting, and Paul Giamatti is describing the wine in such deep detail. We were doing these monologues a couple times today where he was trying to, like, taste the flavor profile. What's the cheese thing? The asparagus?
He like has these flavor notes that, like, your typical person is not going to pick up on. I mean, you got to be like a really well-versed wine connoisseur. And he says, like, something to the effect of, like, asparagus with, like, a flutter of Edam cheese, and I think he, like, adds some other, like, fruit in there too.
He says strawberries.
Yeah.
And the best part is when he says, like, the flutter, he, like, closes he, like, does the thing when, like, Ariana Grande is trying to high note, when, like, a falsetto is trying to high note, like, closes his ear, and he's like, and a hint of, what's the cheese?
Edam.
Yeah,
cheese.
A hint of Edam cheese. It's just so funny and so pretentious. And once again, really set the stage of, like, Paul Giamatti is probably the most pretentious character of all time.
I think the thing I loved about that too was his friend. I mean, Thomas Hayden Church's character was, like, so not invested in any way with, like, the flavor profile or, like, anything about the wine. He was like, when can we just drink this wine?
Yeah.
When can we drink this wine, and when can I fuck abroad? It was
another funny part about the scene was, like, he's like, you should work in a wine store. And he's like, no, I would never do that. And they're, like, right in front of the guy who's working at the wine store.
Yeah, that is very, very funny. And then, yeah, the Jack character, he takes a sip. He's like, yeah, I'm getting strawberries. I very, very funny scene. Very, very funny scene. And the cowboy, Saviant. What are those called? The people that know a lot about wine?
Sommelier.
Are all, like, were the people we were talking today, were they sommeliers?
Maybe. Potentially.
We have our business
card. Full
card.
accreditation to it.
Yeah, there's, like, multiple levels. Well, we got the card.
We did. I think it was, like, VP of, like, I got it right here. Shout out.
Shout out Deanna at
Beijing. She was awesome. Senior lead VIP host and wine educator.
She's probably a sommelier. She was awesome, though. Shout out Deanna.
She was a wine educator. I learned quite a lot from her. She was great. And Peju was great. It was a great experience. And here's my question to you guys. Is Jack a good friend?
Yes and no. Like, he's trying to get Miles out there, and, like, Miles should get out there and, like, you know, make new connections. Like, he's just, like, sitting in his own suffering, just wallowing. And Jack's trying to be like, you know, get out there, talk to her.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that Jack is, like, going about it is probably not from the most correct standpoint, but he's trying to get Miles out there.
I think his intentions are actually super good.
For sure.
And, like, I honestly, like, Jack is very much this character that is, like, super optimistic. And, like, a lot of times he's like, why don't you work at a wine store? Or, like, why don't you move up here and write? Like, I think honestly, like his intentions are always really, really, really good with Miles. I think Jack's a really good friend for him. Like I think he's like trying to get him out of this desperate area. I think Jack's a horrible human being, but I weirdly think that he is a good friend to Miles. The issue is that he lies a shit ton, and he puts Miles in really bad positions. He tells Mia that that Miles is going to be a published author, and then he also lies to Mia that he's not going to get married. Jack's not going to get married, and so he has really good intentions. I think ultimately he knows what Miles, Paul Giamatti's character, needs in his life, but he goes about it in like one of the worst ways possible because he's just this morally corrupt character. Though I love Jack so much. Wonderful character, though morally incorrect. Things heat up when they go to a wine tasting, and Sandra Oh's character, Stephanie, is the person who's introducing them to wine. Jack and her quickly hit it off, and they realize that she has a mutual friend with Mia.
Right when he says, like, you're a bad girl, and she's like, I need to get spanked. It's like, all right, yeah.
Like they are going to have
it's over.
Wild sex. So they go on the double date, and this is where the iconic line comes in, that before they go on the double date, Paul Giamatti goes, I'll fucking go, but I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot. And the funny thing is, and so I did a lot of research on this because this is a common thing that like people talk about, is the impact that Sideways actually had on the wine industry and how it like greatly destroyed Merlot for many, many people. And so here's straight from the Wikipedia page. After the film released in the United States in October 2024, Merlot sales dropped 2%, while Pinot Noir sales, because Paul Giamatti's character is obsessed with Pinot Noir, increased 16% in the United States. A similar trend occurred in Britain, and a 2009 study by Sonoma State University found that Sideways slowed the growth of Merlot sales volume and caused its price to fall. But the film's main effect on the U.S. wine industry was the rise in sales of Pinot Noir and overall wine consumption as a whole. And then in 2022 study found that Sideways caused a reduction in demand of Merlot and an increase in Pinot Noir, which led California winemakers to grow Pinot Noir grapes in unsustainable lands and blend those grapes with grapes grown in high quality areas just to meet the demand. And it was funny today because both of our wine tastings today, Sideways came up, which is hilarious.
Yeah. And both were in like in a negative light. I mean, I think you can see the movie for what it is, but they had a negative perspective on how Alexander Payne portrayed the whole Merlot situation, because it heavily impacted the wineries that we visited today. And you have some more information on kind of the whole Merlot thing.
I do, and I guess this is the time that we'll talk about it, because we're going to try to jump. We're jumping a little bit out of order, but the fuck Merlot line is so iconic, and it clearly had a massive impact on the wine industry. I think what is so interesting here is the fact that if you are reading between the lines, I do think that it's hinted at that the wife did like Merlot. Maybe not like directly stated.
I couldn't tell until,
yeah,
but I wasn't necessarily looking for it.
Yeah, and
I just missed it.
And I think I've read this in the past too, that the book makes it very obvious that Paul Giamatti's character and Miles and his ex-wife Victoria, they love Merlot together in the book. It's not clearly really made a point in the movie. However, there is a very key and iconic point. He talks about his 1963, what's it called, Ryan?
61 Cheval.
And the cool thing about the 1961 Cheval is that it's actually a 40-60 mix, 40% of it being Merlot. I believe the other 60% is Cab. I don't think I have it written down right here. But yeah, 60% Cab, 40% Merlot. So the funny thing is that the whole entire time that he's talking about this blend that he has, this ultimate bottle of wine, and he is talking about he's saving for a special occasion, and it's a Merlot blend. It's basically 50% Merlot. And it's funny is that I really wanted to share this because I think it makes it very, very obvious once you know that he really actually loves Merlot. Like, he's saving this Merlot for a special occasion, but it's really funny that he says fuck Merlot and all these things, but he's saving this blend for a special occasion. And I wanted to share this on this pod, but the funny thing is that at one of the wineries you were at today, she essentially said that whole entire story.
And both, yeah. Even if
and both of them. And the 50-50 one did the same. No, the 50-50 one, yeah. The one of the wineries went today, Peju, they have a 50-50, which is a Merlot and Cab blend, which is kind of based off that blend that they talk about in Sideways. And she also talked about how they were ripping out their Merlot, their Merlot vines at post Sideways. Like people all throughout Napa.
Part of the reason that they have to they can't really sell Merlot by itself anymore because of the movie. Like they have to throw in a blend because of the connotation that Merlot has after Sideways, which apparently wasn't accurate.
And unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. I don't really like Merlot. I think I'm greatly impacted by Sideways. One of the people today that was, showing us around these wineries, she even said that like she moved here, she didn't like Merlot either, but then she realized that she was probably just greatly impacted by Sideways too. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like I did not think Sideways was going to come up in both of our tours today, but they did.
Yeah. Do you like Merlot?
All right with more Merlot. I mean, I think I probably have it more often in a blend than anything, but
yeah. And I also think that like in a blend, I think it works really well. I just don't like the acidity of Merlot. I don't know. I just don't like the aftertaste. I can't really put a great word on it. I'm not great at describing wines, but it's like there's that aftertaste of Merlot that I don't like, and I knew Sideways before I really started drinking wine, and I still don't like Merlot.
I mean, you like what you like, and you don't like what you don't like.
Yeah, it's true. And I love Paul Giamatti. And Paul Giamatti has a funny quote that from like a podcast or interview he did like 2 years ago. And he's like, I honestly didn't care for wine before Sideways, learned about a shit ton about wine for Sideways. And now people still come up to me, asking me questions about wine. And I'm like, dude, the only thing I really drink is Guinness and tequila. And that's a man after my own heart. He's a beast.
He directed this movie, fun fact.
The person who was giving us a wine tour at one of these places said that Paul Giamatti wrote, directed, and starred in this movie, and we all just shivered because we're like, oh, dude, justice for Alexander Payne, who's absolute goaty. There's a scene actually that I jumped a little ahead of. I love the scene where Paul Giamatti is starting to break. They're like driving through the countryside, and he pulls a bottle of wine, opens the cork with his mouth, and just runs downhill. This is right after he finds out that his ex-wife is actually married now, right? She's married and she's going to go to the wedding, Jack's wedding, and he has a mental break and he grabs a bottle of wine with a cork in it, bites it open with his mouth, runs down the hill and starts just chugging this half-drink bottle of wine. And that's the first also scene where as he's running, he throws the bottle of wine and he grabs grapes, which I assume are Pinot grapes, and he looks at it and he stares at it. And this kind of foreshadows a great monologue that's coming up when he talks about Pinot and how he relates to Pinot. I thought that was great foreshadowing. I also think it's really funny. Once again, it's Alexander Payne is a genius. He's lulling you to sleep where you don't really think you're getting a deeper meaning here. You just think Paul Giamatti is being a ridiculous idiot, chugging this wine, running downhill because he finds out his ex-wife is, but he's sneaking in this analogy that the Paul Giamatti character in Pinot Noir and Paul Giamatti character, which he directly tells you about 20 minutes later, but I think that's genius foreshadowing and really well done. And I think that's something that you don't catch on your first viewing, but you catch on multiple viewings. I caught it on this viewing. Not really sure if I ever put that together on previous viewings. Yeah.
Paul Giamatti is a king of crash outs.
Yeah, he is.
So good. Once the steam, leaves his head, he's just super pissed, goes to find some wine and just, runs off, and very entertaining crash outs.
Yeah.
He's the king of it.
He is. In all his movies, but in this movie especially. And that one is a very, very special one. And so then we get the fuck Merlot scene. We get the dinner scene. He calls Victoria directly in the dinner scene, which is a pretty powerful scene because Victoria's kind of a bitch to him. And she even says, maybe you shouldn't come to Jack's wedding. Because everyone's concerned that Paul Giamatti's character, Miles, is going to ruin Jack's wedding because he's not going to be able to control himself around Victoria. And then we come back and the two girls leave. And this is where we find out. And this is why I love this movie, because he slowly reveals so much about Miles' character and Victoria that you're constantly shape-shifting your views on Miles. Where up until this point, you're like, Team Miles, Victoria's a bitch. She divorced him. You find out Miles actually cheated on Victoria. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, I don't know what to think anymore. It's a great slow reveal of the character. You guys, anything to add about that before we get into the two very, very great monologues?
One thing I really liked about that scene in the restaurant was after they do the intro, the small talk, like they meet the two of them, the four of them, and this double date, and they start to drink a little more wine, and then like the phone starts ringing in the background, but they're still talking. You can just like see him progressively getting more drunk and like just like kind of spacing out, like thinking about it. And the phone continues to ring in the background for like a minute, and then it just goes to the phone booth where he talks to Victoria. I think it was just really well done to show like kind of like
Where his head was at?
Where his head was at throughout the dinner, and kind of like the downfall, and then like just kind of foreshadowing that.
Yeah, you know,
really well done.
And
it was something I noted in this past viewing.
This is where I get a little serious here. Anyone that's gone through a breakup knows the feeling that like I am trying to be present in this moment. I'm trying my best to be present in this moment. I understand that what I'm currently doing should be a fun time. However, I am in the back of my mind, I am transfixed on this girl, and I want to talk to this girl so bad, and it's so hard to be present and so hard to be in the moment. And so I think, like you talked about, that scene highlights what that feeling is so well.
And you're just like yelling at Paul. You're like,
don't call her.
Maya right next to you. Like, you got a great girl right next to you. Like,
she's interested in you. She's interesting. Like, she likes wine, all this stuff. And that's why Jack's a good character, because that's what Jack's telling him, right? Like, Jack's saying a lot of things that I want to tell Paul. Good friend. He is a good friend. That's my hot take, is that Jack's actually a really good friend. So then we get to, I think, the show-stopping scene in the movie. It is dead in the middle. Like, I timed it. It is, like, dead in the middle of this 2-hour movie. An hour in, you get, I like to say, Sideways takes on Before Sunrise. You get these two killer monologues. Ryan, we talked a little, we were trying not to talk about Sideways, but we're wine tasting, and we've all liked this movie, we've all seen this movie. And Sideways kept coming up.
Yeah.
And so, Ryan, I think you did a really, do you want to break down your interpretation of it? Because I have a lot to say about this, but I think
remember.
You said, and I think this is Before Sunrise too, is that you can tell it's well scripted. You can tell that it's well rehearsed. However, it feels authentic in a way that it almost feels like the characters are improving. That knowing how they are.
If a lesser actor had performed that scene, it would be terrible. It'd be so written, like it'd be like, all right, like you clearly, like someone clearly just wrote this down. Like no one would ever think this. But like Paul Giamatti, his like the lead up to this point, and also like his performance, it's just like you fully believe what he's saying. You're like completely drawn in. You're like, it's captivating. And in a lesser actor, it would have been like corny. Like it would have just not worked at all.
Yeah, I agree. It's show stopping. Everything feels like it was leading up to it. They're talking about wine. You feel this genuine connection, and then he gives this great monologue. However, I think and I've hid this from the guys, I think there's a better monologue that comes right after it. And I am starting a new segment, because I am a sucker for monologues. And I'm going to start a new segment here during Rewinds of Mike Does a Monologue. And so I am going to read Maya's monologue now, because I think that it is actually, and this is what makes Before Sunrise so good, is that oftentimes the male character, Jesse in that case, will give a good monologue. Oh my God, wait, did no one tell me? Celine. God damn, if I didn't get that right, I was going to kill myself. Celine gives a better monologue. She kind of jabs him back, and it's just back and forth. And so Sideways does a really, really good 2-monologue showstopper here. And I think that Maya's monologue is even better. So let's do this. I like to think about the life of wine and how it's a living thing. I like to think about what was going on the years that the grapes were growing, how the sun was shining that summer, or if it rained. What was the weather like? I think about all the people who tended and picked the grapes. And if it's an old wine, how many of them must have been dead by now? I love how wine continues to evolve, how every time I open a bottle, it's going to taste different than if I had opened it the other day. Because a bottle of wine is actually alive. It's constantly evolving and gaining complexity. That is, until it peaks, like you're 61, and it begins to steady and inevitably declines. And it tastes so fucking good. I think that's a great comeback to Paul Giamatti's sad boy. I'm Pinot. I have thin skin. I can only groan in certain things. And she's like, dude, we're all involving. And then she does that monologue and then no words are said. And then she touches his hand. And, film is meant to be a visual thing. And I love when they don't use words to describe a lot. So she touches his hand. It zooms in on the touch, slowly pans up to Paul Giamatti's face. Very, very close up. Cuts to me. Very, very close up. And then you're like uncomfortably close. The camera's uncomfortably close. And then Paul Giamatti breaks the tension. And he's like, I'm really, well, he's like, I'm also really into, what's the dessert wine? I'm really into, Griezen recently.
It was like
Riesling?
Bordeaux. It was like
Riesling. The one of the girls we were with today, she says, oh, I love Griezen or whatever. Yeah, but he breaks the tension, and then all of a sudden the camera like almost jarringly zooms out. It cuts quickly to both of the characters there. Extremely well done. He goes to the bathroom. He splashes water on his face. Like, I'm a fucking fool. I'm a fucking idiot. I love that scene. I love that scene so much because, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's also really relatable because there's a lot of times where, like, you're with a girl, you feel like you should make a move, and then you don't make the move, and then you, like, take a step back. You're like, wow, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, it just feels very relatable, very stupid, very dumb, but also very, very just genuine, very human. And it's done so well. And a lot of times without any words, you have these two showy monologues, but then the next minute and a half is just straight acting. And both characters couldn't be any better. Comes back, kisses Mia on the lips. And Mia's kind of just like, this all feels weird now because the moment's ruined.
Yeah, he kind of just like came in strong out of nowhere after the bathroom.
And then they drive away, but Mia says like, I had a nice time. And I love that.
And then he hands her the book, and she's like, "Oh, great!" And then he's like, "Oh, wait, here's the next box. This book's like 800 pages."
Very funny, and you're like, she's never gonna read that.
I do agree with you, though. I'm glad you placed a lot of emphasis on her monologue as well, because I do think it was like just as good, if not better, than Paul's, and them. The back and forth there is what makes this movie so good. And this scene is like, show stopping.
I think, yeah, she's a great character. And yeah,
you can just kind of see Paul just like, as she's saying that monologue, just like falling in love with her. Like it kind of would shoot back to Paul, like just watching her talk. And he's just like,
yeah,
like, how is this person real?
And the camera keeps getting closer to both of them. And it's just a very intimate, beautiful, beautiful scene. It's a show-stopping scene. And I will say that the other monologue that I was arguably going to do is, you don't want to feel that cozy little box grip down on your Johnson.
Oh my God.
Somehow I didn't know that was a scene. I did not know that was a quote from this movie until this time. Because it's said so unassuming. Because they're just like walking like after golf. I think it's it's almost right after this scene. You don't want to feel that cozy little box pressed down on your Johnson.
Yes, that was when the guys behind them hit into them, and then they.
Yeah, which is literally the next scene.
What else he says? Like, you need to get your joint smooched or something like that.
Your joint smashed, something like that. He says so many. Like, he's just the horniest dude. We also find out that scene that Jack cheats on his wife, and so that leads to a level of complexity because now Miles is clearly in love with Mia, who's friends with Stephanie, who is now really falling for Jack. There's some wild scenes of like Jack playing with Stephanie's child. I think she calls him like Uncle Jack at one scene.
Is that the bowling alley?
That's the bowling alley scene. And this is the one point where I'm like, all right, is that realistic? Probably not. But it works for the movie.
Didn't really need the bowling alley scene.
Don't need the bowling alley scene could almost be cut. We don't really need the daughter.
Yeah.
It heightens the stakes, but it makes it almost feel a little non-believable. That's probably my one issue is that, like, you can just have Jack cheat and you could have Stephanie be in love, but you don't need to make the daughter calling him dad or uncle.
So something that I heard, and I'm not 100% sure about this, is that in the book, she doesn't have a daughter. And it was written into the movie, and I think I could be making this up, but I believe it was Sandra Oh that was like helping like create extra information about what's her name, Stephanie, about Stephanie in the movie that the author didn't like. And there's a sequel. The author wrote a sequel to this book, and just wrote
3 books.
Like, yeah, I think there's
actually 4.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
But he like wrote her out of it because of this.
Really?
Yeah, because like changes that she was like making to the movie that the author didn't like, he like wrote her out of it.
In future novels? That's actually really funny.
So at the time of the movie, only the first book was published?
And then in like the late 2000s, he published another one. It's about Mia and Miles and Miles's mom. They go to Oregon wine country and they go on a road trip. And Fox Searchlight owns the rights to that as well. But Alexander Payne says he has no interest in ever making a sequel. And Fox Searchlight says we have no interest in making a sequel if Paul Giamatti and Alexander Payne aren't both on board. Which, come on, you're not making a Sideways sequel without them. And so essentially those are never going to get made, which I don't think we need. I didn't know this was not adapted off a novel until I was reading about it.
The thing I had the biggest question about was like the novel wasn't published until like 2 months before the movie came out.
It was published in June.
Alexander Payne and the author had sent him
he read the manuscript and he loved it.
You have this. Yeah,
this is one of my facts. Yeah. He read the manuscript. He loved it and he wanted to make it. And so the fun thing is the author, I'm drawing a blank on the author's name.
It's Rex something.
And I feel bad, but it's not going to come to me. Sorry. If you're listening, I'm sorry. If your grandchildren are listening, I'm sorry. He's listening. He's actually my biggest fan. Sorry, Rex. The toy from Toy Story, Rex, wrote this novel. But essentially what happened is that Rex was a frequent customer at the Hitching Post. And so he said, I'm writing a novel about wine country here and all this stuff. And they were like, okay, cool. And they literally just didn't believe that he was actually like writing it, like whatever. He was kind of like, it sounds like the Paul Giamatti character. He was always this guy who was like, oh, I'm a published author and stuff. And people were like, whatever. And essentially what happened was that the movie, Alexander Payne is the director. He read the manuscript, fell in love with, and so he wanted to make it, and he wanted to like make it as authentic as possible. And so Hitching Post had a huge inspiration to this movie. So he was like, we're going to film at the Hitching Post. And then the Hitching Post owner was like, holy shit, the author wasn't a bunch. He was real. He was actually writing a book about this because like the book hadn't come out yet. But Alexander Payne and Fox Searchlight was coming up to him and be like, hey, this book's about to get published, but we're already adapting it. And so, yes, essentially Alexander Payne read the manuscript, wanted to adapt it, and the book got published about 2 months before the movie came out. Interesting. Very cool. Yeah. I would like to read the novel. Will I get to it? I don't know, but I'm interested.
You haven't read it?
The book? No. I'd like to.
I think it would. All these characters are very rich. I'm just scamming my notes here. No person in their 30s in 2003 would be named Mia. That is true.
That's not her name also. You've been saying Mia though.
Maya? Maya, whatever. No person in their 30s in 2023 would be named Maya. Yeah, but she wasn't 30 in 2003. Hey, whatever. Sure, all right, fine. I'm wrong.
Movie also didn't come out in 2000. You said 23.
I didn't come in 2004. Whatever. I move on. Their love for wine is a bit much at times. I don't know if anyone loves wine that much, though the people we talk to today fucking love wine, so I don't know. I like wine.
Yeah.
The bowling alley scene was wild and made me uncomfortable. Man, being a dude in 2004 and having to buy porn over the counter sounds horrible.
It was like he was just in bed, just like reading the articles.
It sounds terrible. God, that just seems so bad. Also, is there any less nostalgic time in America than the early 2000s? Like the fashion sucks. Like everything just feels depressing. I understand that like that's not what Sideways is going for. Sideways just capitulating 2003, and like I was 8, 9 at the time. It just seems so depressing. The only thing I'm nostalgic about is the fact that I saw gas was $1.74 in California, and Paul Giamatti is a terrible golfer.
Really bad.
Really, really horrendous swing. And then the fact when the Jack character's like trying to give him swing tips, I'm like, you're a bad golfer too. Let's just get to the part where Paul Giamatti hits a ball into somebody. Come on.
Do you think Paul is that bad in real life?
Yeah, I do. I don't think, for the record, love Paul Giamatti. He is one of my top 10 favorite actors of all time. He doesn't have an athletic bone in his body. I feel comfortable saying that.
It's crazy that, his dad
will be commissioner. Yeah.
We talked about this. So Paul Giamatti's, you want to tell the story too?
I don't know the story that we're talking about. As far as like his dad being the MLB commissioner, and then I think the most notable part of because he wasn't MLB commissioner all that long.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. But I think the most notable part of his tenure was that he was the commissioner that banned Pete Rose from MLB. And then within, I think, like 6 months or so, died after that.
From a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be correlated. That's a big decision to make. Like, all-time hit leader.
It is wild that Paul Giamatti. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Paul Giamatti's dad wasn't a good baseball player either. He's just the commissioner, though. Paul Giamatti.
I don't think his dad ever played baseball. I think his dad might have been a lawyer.
Fucking lawyers.
What?
His dad, I don't think his dad was an athlete.
I think that's a common.
Yeah.
How many commissioners actually played the sport?
Almost none.
Yeah,
Almost
they're
none.
just like lawyers that were involved with like contract disputes.
Roger
like,
Goodell, a lawyer? Goodell, a lawyer?
I'd imagine so.
No, I don't think so.
No, I know he's not.
What's his background?
I think he's always worked for the NFL. I think he's like worked up.
He just
like,
got like a bachelor's degree,
increasing like levels of the NFL, but I don't think he's ever.
And I think his dad did something. He's a little
I
nepotism.
think his dad might be like a prior senator.
Yeah, his dad was like a very influential person, and then like
a diplomat.
Yeah, and Goodell always wanted to be the commissioner of the NFL, and so it's kind of like type thing. Anyways, oh yeah. So then there's a big scene here for the plot that Paul Giamatti and Maya. It's clearly that they're in love. It's clear that they're hitting it off. They're having a great time together. Maya's like, "Hey, we should do this," and he's like, "Oh, I got the wedding that weekend." She's like, "What? Well, whose wedding?" And he tells her, which is like good for Miles. He tells her that Jack's about to get married.
I think he said, "Oh, like we have the rehearsal dinner Friday," and then he's like, I think he.
But he could have lied. I'm Team Paul. I'm Team Miles. Because that's what Miles. He's like, I could have lied to you back then, but I didn't.
He could have said it earlier.
Well, sure. Jack put him in a tough spot. Put him in a tough spot. Anyways, so then shit goes to hell. Like these two fucking dirtbags are both now out of love, right? Sandra Oh kicks his ass, which is hilarious, breaks his nose, calls him a dick, which Jack is. And then they go to this like steakhouse. And then this leads to one of the more uncomfortable scenes in movie history. Well, I'm getting a lot ahead of myself. You realize how horny Jack is because he's like, I want to fuck this waitress. You know?
What? He pulls Miles aside and he's like, you don't understand like my plight. Like you know why, you know all this stuff. It's like you don't understand like why I have to do what I do. It's like, okay, like it's a real problem with you.
Yeah. So is he just a sex addict?
Gotta be.
Yeah, that's just kind of like, I don't know, like I have this weird thing with Jack in this movie to where I'm just like, why is he so horny? But I guess he's just a sex addict.
I don't know what other explanation there.
Anyways, into fucking the waitress who's buried. And then this is where it literally becomes like 15 minutes of just hysteria. Paul Giamatti's trying to sleep. He's here's a pound on the door, and then you see fucking Jack just butt ass naked. And they say like 5 clicks, and I'm like, who in America says clicks? How pretentious is Paul Giamatti?
I was gonna bring that up. That's one of my favorite quotes in the movie is that he said it's 5 clicks.
Yeah,
like, really?
Yeah, come on,
3 miles. It's 5.
I mean, I love that he says 5 clicks, but Miles is so pretentious. But he calls it 5 clicks instead of 5 kilometers, instead of putting it in fucking miles. And his name's Miles. And so, anyways, we find out that the keys and the wallet is left at the waitress's house that Jack was just fucking. And so they have to go back and get the wallet. And Jack, being the stand-up guy he is, convinced Miles to go get it. And so Miles sneaks in and grabs the wallet. And I think this scene's like so funny. I remember the first time I watched this scene, it's just like hysterically laughing. And what makes it funny is the full frontal that you get when the dude's running to the car and you get full frontal and you're
full
just
frontal,
full everything. They could teach an anatomy class on this scene.
Big Johnson.
It's a Johnson, yeah. It's pretty good. Yeah. So you get a full frontal scene, which is like hilarious.
I guess that guy's like an actual actor. Like he's in stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
And so
far, his wiener out. Yeah.
How much money do they pay him to? Is it a prosthetic? Because that's kind of impressive.
I don't think so.
I think no, he's just a man.
I didn't inspect it too closely, but
I think it's a real dick. All right. The movie had so many laughs out loud moments.
He's in Django Unchained. He's in The Mighty Ducks, On Air.
So quite the filmography.
Terminator 3. Yeah, he's like a legit, a superstar.
And then off the back of that scene, you get Jack being like, hey, let me drive. And I fucking love this scene even more, arguably. And then Jack's driving, and then he just drives the car into a fucking tree. And then they do the scene from like basically Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he's like, all right, we haven't fucked this car up enough. I'm going to drop a fucking cinder block on the fucking... And the car swerves, misses a tree, and goes into a fucking ditch.
How did they get the car out of there?
Movie magic. I know, but yeah, honestly, it's like that would be horrible. And so they pull into the driveway, and Jack is basically off scot-free. Like Jack gets away with everything. Were you guys okay with that? Because then Jack arc's done. Like that's it for Jack. Like what? So like, because that's the end of the second act, and we get the third act, and the third act I have to call. I'm worried he's gonna kill himself. But the second act ends with laughter, right? And this is where I think Alexander Payne's a genius. Like you're laughing, but then all of a sudden he's like pulling up, and he's like, he just cheated on his wife for a week straight. Is he gonna marry her? Like, what the fuck's gonna happen here? His face is bashed and all this stuff. Gets away with it. I don't know. Jack's the weirdest character for me here. He's the one that like upon multiple viewings, I don't know if I like the character. I don't know if I don't like the character. I don't know even what to make of the character. Like he's the most complex person to me.
I mean, it didn't surprise me that he was able to get away with all that stuff because I think that type of person is well versed in being able to like know how to talk to their partner.
He's an actor.
And like he knows as like that person, like you can tell that he's been doing that for a long time. And he knows how to evade getting caught doing his like stuff. So it didn't surprise me that he got away with it. I didn't like that he got away with it, but I mean, that was part of the whole movie, I guess.
I mean, I do think it's I agree with you. I do think it's believable. Like this guy knows what he's doing. Like he comes up with a pretty elaborate. I mean, like he literally fucking bashes a car into a ditch. Elaborate way to come up with a pretty good way of coming up with why his nose would be like smashing it.
Total piece of shit.
A complete piece of shit. Then we get into the third act. And the third act's just like, I mean, it's a great act, but like, it's really fucking sad because like, there's a scene earlier in the movie where Paul Giamatti talks about, he couldn't even kill himself. Right. And like at this point, you're like, don't think that Paul Giamatti's going to kill himself, but he like kind of foreshadows the fact that like,
it was kind of a funny scene. He's like, I can't kill myself before I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's like great authors that kill himself. Like I can't even kill myself. And it's a funny scene. And once again, this is Alexander Payne being Alexander Payne, where it's just like, he is so good at being like blending humor with like real serious things. But then you don't ever really think Paul Giamatti is going to kill himself until the third act. And then you're like, holy shit, this character may actually kill himself. And there was also foreshadowing, right? Like Alexander Payne does a good job of being like, hey, usually big things are foreshadowed in movies. I already foreshadowed this. Like, is this character actually going to kill himself? Anyways, then you get the Victoria scene. You finally meet her. And I love the way they shoot Victoria. She's almost glowing. She's like angelic.
She's wearing like a flowery, like
wearing
dress.
Flowery, like her face is just like, she's just like glowing off the screen. It's almost like it's a dream. And I don't think it is, but it almost kind of feels like it is. It's just like such a tough scene, but Paul Giamatti handles himself so well. But we found out that Victoria's pregnant, and we know Paul, we know Miles, we know that that's going to shake into his core. But I love that scene, and I love how the way that once again, this movie, all great screenplays know that it's not about the monologue, it's about the way you can shoot it. And usually when directors write screenplays too, like they are all about that. And I think it's a great job where Paul's fucking, Miles is fucking devastated by that whole scene, but he's not showing. He does a really good job of being like cordial
for the most part.
For the most part,
you can tell like some of the facial expressions.
Yeah,
it's like death inside.
But
like,
but a human. That's a human. Like
right. I'm happy for you.
If I'm Miles, yeah, that's how I'm like I'm happy. Like I am, but
I'm sure he is. Like just, he can't. Like
I'm
process that.
I may go home and kill myself, but I'm happy for you.
Okay, but here's where I want your interpretation. Because in the 2 times that I watched this movie, both times, I feel like I remember the first time I watched it. I don't remember when I watched it the first time, but I do remember when I watched it the first time. I had the same expectation that I did the second time. of when he learned that in the parking lot. When he drives away and he, like, turns off, like, opposite way, he turns left. Everybody that's going to, like, the reception turns right. He turns left. My thought was he's immediately going to drive to see Maya.
Mm.
And he goes back to his apartment, as you know.
Yep.
Gets the 61 Cheval or whatever it is.
61 Cheval, yeah.
And then goes and just drinks it out of, like, a styrofoam cup in, like, some random fast food place. To me, so what do you make of that? Because to me, I was expecting him to go see Maya. So, like, what's the significance of him drinking that in, like, the setting that he does, in the way that he does, immediately after learning that?
Yeah, this is the second best scene in the movie. Great point. What I love here is that you're like, I don't know how Miles is gonna respond to this, and then you see everyone going right, and he goes left. Beautiful. And also, the classic film, like, this is also like old school classic film 101. You know, our brains are meant to read things to the right? And so anytime you do something jarring to the left, it kind of sends a pulse to you. Anyways, so he turns left, and then you get this great scene. My interpretation, and honestly, I think Alexander Payne is trying to hint at, I think he's going to go home and hang himself. That is what I'm worried of. Like, legitimately, I think the stakes are that high. And so when he goes into his apartment, there's a part of me that's like, is he going to pull out a noose out of this closet, and is he going to hang himself? And I think Alexander Payne is trying to also make you think that. I did not think he was in Driving to Mia. That thought process does not cross my mind there.
That crossed my mind.
Okay.
Driving to Mia.
I'm a darker person.
But I mean,
It's a litmus test.
I do love, like, him getting the 61 Cheval, opening it, and it's a great scene. It also is a little dark because it's like that's kind of like what he was like saving up for. He was spending all his time waiting for this, like, for the perfect time to age, and he's using it up. So, like, what else is there? Pretty much. But at the same time, it's like it's also a positive scene in a way because you think back to what Maya said. It's like the day you open up the 61 Cheval is like that's an occasion. So I think he just needed a win. Like, he just got dealt with this news that his ex-wife was pregnant, and he needed a win. And so the quickest win he knew was like go open the 61 Cheval and enjoy it. And even if it's with fast food, it doesn't matter. He's drinking the 61 Cheval. So I do think while you can view it in a darker lens, I think he just needed a win and wanted like something good. Like, he had just been dealt this terrible information. He's like, I need to crack this open. Think about Maya, I'm sure, in the background while he's drinking it. But that was my interpretation.
So I think I'm closer to Ryan's, but I think it's slightly off from my interpretation from both of you. The way that I took it was that so immediately upon learning that, he goes back to his apartment, digs through it, right, to find this, and then goes to, like, the fast food place. For me, I was expecting, because he told Maya previously, like, I'm saving this up for a special occasion. I thought he was initially saying, like, like, my thought was, like, I'm so in love with my, at the time, current wife. We're going to have this probably on the anniversary at some point. They obviously broke up.
Or when she has a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they break up. He then learns at the wedding that she's going to have a kid. To me, I took that as, like, he took that as the
closure.
final door is closed, because he even said during the call that he made during that dinner, he was like, I thought we were going to get back together. And then she was
And
like,
even his mom is like, oh, you should get back together with
Yeah.
her. So it was always
so, like, I
probably
think in the back of
head.
his mind, he was like, there's a chance we're going to get back together. And
I
then when
like
he
that.
heard, like, you're pregnant, that was like the final door is shut.
I'm legit getting goosebumps.
So now he's like,
I think
all
that's the
right.
right interpretation.
Now he's like, all right, so it's for sure closed. Now, instead of having it be like our anniversary, like, celebration, I'm closing the door on this woman in my life.
And it makes sense with it being Merlot too. Like,
Yeah.
closing the chapter on that, and
yeah.
And I wonder if the book actually makes that more obvious.
Like, to him, it's more like it doesn't really matter the setting I'm having it in. It's more just the fact that, like, I'm now getting rid of this, like, physically getting rid of this, like, last memory of this person. And then, like, not to jump ahead, but, like, immediately pretty much then thereafter goes to see Maya. So it's kind of like closing the chapter on that part of his life and then moving to the next part. That's the way I took it.
I actually I actually love that interpretation. I mean, for me, my interpretation wasn't that deep. My interpretation was of him drinking it was just like kind of like Ryan's was just like Maya says the day that you drink that 61 is an important occasion.
He needed a win.
And I took him as I'm depressed as fuck. I have this 61. I don't want to kill myself, but what I do want to do is let me just eat a fucking dirty burger and drink this thing. I think your interpretation is after you laid it out there, I think it's honestly the right interpretation. And I wonder if the book makes it a little more obvious because as we found out today, as we found out talking about this, like the Merlot thing, maybe is poorly done in the movie where it seems like in the book, it's very much he contributes Merlot equating to Victoria. And so I think, like you said, there's this Merlot that I was holding on to for a long, long period of time. And potentially maybe he was waiting for him and Maya to have kids together. And so the fact that he's like, I've been holding this bottle forever, thinking about her. This is the last piece of reminding that I have of Victoria. I think that makes a lot more sense. I think that I like that interpretation. Yeah.
I mean, like immediately after, let me know if there's something I'm missing, but
no,
does he not immediately then thereafter just it cuts to him then going to see her?
No, because she calls. Like it takes a
He
little
does
bit.
leave that the message.
It jumps. So he writes a note though. We know he writes a note because
She says, "I got your letter."
Like I got your letter. I'm sorry it took me so long. And then she talks about how it's winter now here, and so I interpret that it's been like 3 months.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think it was more maybe he wasn't necessarily thinking that there was anything there with Maya, but I think for his own kind of closure, it was like I now know that there's no way we're getting back together.
Yeah,
like
and that's why I think your view is maybe a little too dark because like there is a lot of time that passes between like the ending and when he had 6-1 Cheval. It was truly suicidal. Like he chugs on. So like I don't know. I like your reading of it.
Rex Pickett is the novelist I actually have in my notes.
Sorry, Rex.
Shout out, Rex.
Rex, thank you for listening.
Thank you for the support, though. You've always been real great to me, and I love you. I will say this: in my notes, I have he goes and pulls out this 1961 wine and drinks at a fast food restaurant alone. This may actually be worse than death. It may be.
I honestly. The both times I watched it, I remember thinking it was very sad because the way he described it was so special. Like it was a special bottle saved for a special time.
He's hiding it.
Yeah.
Styrofoam
like,
cup.
But
I love it.
Like
I love it.
He's like saving it for a special time. And then I think he like gets to the point where he realizes like the special nature of it was because it had to do with his wife, like his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And then once he realized that he's not going to be able to get back together with her, it's not as special to him. And then at that point, it's like, what's the difference between drinking this at like a really nice restaurant where we have them cork it, or I'm drinking it by myself in a fast food place.
You're right. This is
like I'm not with that person.
I agree. I agree with you. I think that's him actually closing that chapter. That is Maya. Sorry, that is Victoria. The last thing we have is the ending. And so he walks into his apartment. He gets a voice message from Maya, and she tells him that she got his letter.
She read the book.
She read the book. She wanted to reach out, wait till the book happened. So clearly she cares. Like he hands this huge manuscript to her. So clearly there's still some interest there. And it's a beautiful voice message. And he hops in his car and he drives. And it ends with him knocking on the door. And to be honest with you guys, I think that is a perfect ending to this movie. I was sitting there, right? Because I try to be like, how would I end this movie? I'm smarter than Alexander Payne. How would I end this movie? I can't think of anything that would be better, more poetic. I think that's perfect. I think it's a perfect ending. I don't have anything else to even critique or add. Anyone else?
I think it's a great ending. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on what happens next are.
Yeah,
I choose to view it in a more romantic light. I think she called for a reason. I think tone of her voice, engaged and like very friendly and like, hey, like if you're like, she didn't want to be like, oh, you should drive up and see me now because she didn't want to be too far. But she's like, if you're in the area, please stop by. And you could tell like obviously from earlier in the movie, the monologues, like they had a deep connections. I choose to view it in a more romantic light where I think when he knocks, like she answers and, they get together. But I think there's a way you can view the movie where, he knocks and she's like, oh, I didn't really mean for you to like come all this way.
Show
like,
up.
I don't have these feelings about you, which would just be devastating for Miles. But I think there is a reality in which like that's a potential.
Absolutely. But I agree with you. I am way more romantic when it comes to this ending too. Given her tone, given I think they had a very genuine connection, I think that she answers the door and live happily ever after. I interpret it as a happy thing. I don't need to see Maya's reaction open the door. I'm glad they don't show it, but I do take it as a positive. And it's funny, like this is a very sad and depressing movie when you really kind of like dig into it. And it's kind of actually nice that it actually ends really happily. I like that she reaches back out because I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. And I love a happy ending.
The one thing I thought was I know watching it, I think both times that it was based on book. But I didn't realize until just now that the sequel, it sounds like it didn't come out. The sequel of the book didn't come out until after the movie came out, right? So I was initially thinking the ending might hit different if you know how the sequel plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess knowing that the sequel didn't come out until after the movie ended, that cast aside. Regardless, I feel like actually both times I watched this, I remember thinking of like an analogy of Good Will Hunting because it was like they had a falling out with like the romantic interest before the ending of the movie, and then they're going to see them at the end. It's like you're kind of left hanging on like how that were like resolved.
Yeah.
But
he's driving a car, chasing after. Yeah.
And I felt better about this one because at least in Sideways, she had reached out to him before he went to go see her, right?
Yeah.
And in Good Will Hunting, there was no.
I'm super skeptical about how Good Will Hunting turns out. Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more up in the air for that, but I was much more optimistic for the ending here where I was like, as you said, I think it ended on a much happier note. Like I was in my mind only expecting like after the credits start rolling that the interaction at the door was a good interaction. There was not in my mind a bad interaction between the two of them.
I agree. I only think positive things about the ending. I have a couple more things here to say before we wrap up, but I saved a lot of my fun facts for the end here because I wanted to jump into the movie. But this movie has a 97% Rotten Tomatoes, made $109 million on a $60 million budget. Was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Supporting Actress, and Adapted Screenplay, which it won. Famously, it wasn't nominated for Best Actor for Paul Giamatti. One of the biggest Oscar snubs in Oscar history.
Should have won.
Probably should have won.
Yeah.
What else do you want? It won Best Cast at the SAGs. Like this it won Best Comedy and Musical at the Globes. It nearly won every Critics Award you could imagine for cities. Like this was the critics' darling of 2004. It won Adapted Screenplay literally everywhere. I don't even have time to list off everywhere. There's 4 books based off of these characters. The second one is called Vertical, and it's about the Oregon wine country and is a road trip with Maya, Miles, and his mother. But Alexander Payne refuses to make a sequel about this movie, which I love. In 2013, the Writers Guild of America ranked this as the 90th greatest screenplay of all time, which honestly seems low. But it's widely regarded all time. It seems low still to me.
I'm happy it's in the top 100.
Yeah, but what else do you want? Like, this is all-time great. And then just last month, the New York Times ranked this as the 173rd best movie of the 21st century, which is a crime. I cannot believe it was that poorly rated. What are you doing, A.O. Scott? And this was Alexander Payne's 4th movie. Alexander Payne's one of my favorite directors of all time. You should watch his whole filmography. I even like Shrinking. Undersize, downsizing. I even like downsizing.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was gonna shout out my dad, massive Alexander Payne fan. His favorite one, I believe, is The Descendants, which I believe him and my mom have watched. Yeah. I believe they've watched that maybe 100 times. Give or take. But yeah, he's part of the reason why I've watched a lot of Alexander Payne movies and why I gave Sideways a second and third chance, and great filmmaker, and shout out my dad.
I love Election. I think it's called Election.
It's called Election, yeah.
With Reese Witherspoon and Broderick. So good. About Schmidt's really good.
Dark, like in a different way.
Well, that's Alexander Payne. Like I said, he blends humor and darkness so well. Nebraska's a really good movie. That that helped get me interested in movies. I was getting interested in movies in 2012 and 2013. Nebraska came out, hilarious movie, dark comedy. Bruce Dern's the GOAT. What's the new movie he came out with a couple years ago with Paul Giamatti? Holdovers is great. Paul Giamatti got nominated for Best Actor.
Me too. What'd you think of the Holdovers?
I loved Holdovers.
It was really good.
I watched that on like winter break with my parents.
So good.
Yeah.
Great holiday movie.
It is.
All-time holiday movie.
It is.
I mean, it's based around the holidays.
Right.
It's Christmas break.
It's Christmas break.
Yeah.
Christmas break with the boys.
And it came out in theaters around the holidays, which is like such like a great film.
Alexander Payne just has so much heart in his movies, and it sneaks up on you. It's never like I'm beating you over the head. You should care about these characters. It's just done through subtle ways. Like in The Holdovers, Paul Giamatti's character and the actress who won Best Actress, when they're like smoking that cigarette. When she's smoking that cigarette on the couch and they're having that conversation watching TV, like you're just like, I love both these characters. But it's an authentic conversation. It's never like, you should care about these characters. Alexander Payne is one of the best screenplay writers of this generation, of all time. Fucking love the guy so much. The wine. Do you guys want to do your best breakdown of what this wine was? Want to talk about notes here? Did we finish the bottle?
I got a lot of blackberry notes, some raspberry, a little peppery. It was tannic, not too tannic though. Medium body.
Is that real? A little bit?
Like 60%.
It is a medium body.
I just said it with conviction.
It is you did, and I believed it. It's a medium body. It's a pretty good Pinot. I like it. I would buy it again. I love Pinot. Pinot's my shit.
I believe I had this wine at a very memorable moment, and I'm really trying to piece it together. I can't. Liz would probably know.
Hope Liz is upset at you right now.
She probably is.
It's good. It's a good wine. I think it's a pretty good flavor profile for a Pinot. I'm not good at describing wines. I am not getting any cheese or asparagus. Are you guys getting any asparagus?
E2, what are you getting? You getting Edam cheese?
I don't think there's any Edam.
I don't get any Edam cheese.
Go watch this movie on Hulu. Should have said it earlier. Whatever. All right, I got nothing else. Sideways is obviously a classic. Any last words? I think Jack's a good friend, and I would die on the hill. And I'm glad that Paul Giamatti, Miles' character, doesn't kill himself. And Miles and Mia have 5 kids together at this point in time.
5 kids?
5 kids. And their youngest is named Michael.
40-something.
They could have
a good friend.
Quadtuplets. Yeah, he's a good friend. A horrible human being. There's no way Jack still no shot. Yeah. Interesting face, but
it's like an open marriage or something.
If they're still together. I got nothing left. Anything before we go?
The only thing I'd say is that it was an interesting enough ending that I am like actually interested in reading, or at least like seeing on Wikipedia the summary of the subsequent books to see like how the characters end up.
Yeah, no, I am interested in the novel series of this.
Would be interested to read the book. I don't know, like if I'm that compelled to read like all. It sounds like 3 sequels to it, but at least like I'm interested enough in the characters to know how everybody kind of like panned out.
And I guess it sounds like if it's Maya and Miles doing a road trip in the second film, then it sounds like obviously the ending of the movie is positive.
Yeah. But Alexander Payne wrote this movie, a decade before that came out. So I'm leaving it open to interpretation, but I do think they end up together. I just skimmed my notes. Last thing I have is that this is a sneaky good score. When he's running through the vineyard, there's a really, really good score. There's another scene that's skipping my mind, but this is a sneaky, very good score. I don't know who did it, but I realized that my 6th, 7th time watching this movie is that the score is actually sneaky, very, very good. But that's all I got. You guys going to call it a pod here?
Nothing else?
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys for coming to visit me. We had a lot of fun in Napa. Want to give a review of the Napa experience?
I think so.
No one's listening at this point. But maybe damn him.
Rex Pickett's.
Rex Pickett
and my father are still listening.
Comment to Rex Pickett if you're still listening.
I think it does, like, when you watch it in a different lens, once you have an interest in wine and then you watch this movie, like, his experiences at the wine, at the tastings are like, okay, I'm kind of curious on how, how the different tasting notes and, what flavor profiles you're getting. Like, I feel like it kind of presents that in a positive note where it kind of makes you more curious about wine in general. But as far as Napa goes, I mean, super cool area. Your Airbnb is sick. Love the places we stopped at today.
Though it looks like we're about to get murdered from behind right now.
And we might.
This is also maybe the worst quality video ever posted to YouTube.
I think you put it pretty well.
All right. Well, with that said, thank you. We are now doing videos, as you can tell. This, I don't know how this came out. This may feel like we were in a horror movie, but hey, whatever. We did it. I had fun doing it.
We will likely survive tonight.
We will likely survive tonight. This is the setting I watched Hereditary for anyone that listened to that podcast. And I said I was scared watching Hereditary in this setting. It's like a log cabin in the woods. Don't have internet service.
We're on the second floor though.
We are.
Like that
we're a little elevated.
House.
We're a little elevated. We're a little elevated. That helps. But thank you guys. Follow, like, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are now on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok, movie.rebrew. Follow us on Instagram, movie_rebrew. This is Michael E2. This is Ryan McDermott. I'm Michael Jennison. Thank you for spending time with us. I hope you enjoyed it. Rex Picker, we love you.
Yes.
God bless. Peace.
Bye.
I think he really loves her.